Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. And like every Wednesday, I'm joined by Mr. Big L McMorty of BigL.com, one of the iconic handicappers in the industry today and has been for quite some time, and his record speaks for itself. L, how are you?
Doing great. No complaints on my end. We went to Disneyland yesterday with the kids, so it's a lot of fun.
Very good. So got to mix some fun in there once in a while with work, Al. It's good for the neck above, So anyway, we're going to be covering two NFL playoff games today. Both take place on Sunday. Al's going to be looking at the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills, and I'll be looking at the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. Two great matchups. And I'll let Al begin by looking at the Cincinnati Buffalo game. What say you, Al?
Well, I'm really looking forward to this game, especially since we didn't get to see it, a couple of weeks ago on that Monday night. Both teams obviously on fire. The Bengals have won 9 straight games. Buffalo one win short of that. Their win streak is 8 straight. So something obviously has to give on this Sunday. Buffalo a big favorite here, at home. And if you take a look at how NFL underdogs do when they're getting +3 or more points, if they've won 8 or more games in a row, they don't do very well. In fact, they're 0-9 ATS their last 9 in that situation. So that doesn't bode well for the road underdog. Buffalo also has been tremendous at home in the playoffs if they were off a point spread loss. Of course, last week they didn't cover the spread in their win against the Dolphins. Buffalo going back to 1980 in the playoffs at home off a point spread loss, 6-0 with a push. It all adds up to a Buffalo Bills blowout win for me. And of course, I was on Buffalo at the start of the season. They were my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl, and I'm not backing off now.
I hope not, because a lot of other people, Josh Allen, yes. Did he turn the ball over last week? Yes. Has he been a little careless with the football down the stretch? Yes. But the 31 points that Miami scored on him last week was somewhat deceiving, to say the least. I mean, you're looking at a Miami team that had only 231 yards of total offense. Somehow they scored 31 points. Why? 2 interceptions by Josh Allen were returned into Buffalo territory, a punt return to the Buffalo 40, a defensive touchdown by Miami, and there you have it. That's how you get to 31 when you have that fewer yards of total offense. On the other hand, Buffalo, once again, 3 games against Miami, all 3 decided by 3 points or fewer. In all 3 games, Buffalo had a decided total yards advantage. So Miami might be their enigma this year, but I think that too many people are jumping off that bandwagon that Al's not. And I think Al is on the right side of this game. All right, I'm going to take a look at the Dallas and San Francisco matchup. That right now, San Francisco 3.5. The total is 46. I'm just going to focus on the total here. I will have a winning side on this game that will be posted at my website, rbwins.com, as well as Al's affiliate site, which is pickadvisor.com. San Francisco, 33 points scored or more in 5 of their last 6. Dallas has scored 27 or more in 10 of their last 11. Now, both defenses are formidable. There's no two ways about that. By the same token, these offenses have been absolutely on fire. Dallas looked tremendous in that win over Tampa Bay in terms of moving the ball and offensively. And San Francisco is just gets better and better offensively with Brock Purdy. Boy, oh boy, who would have thought? The 49ers also played 4-0 to the over in their last 4. Those 4 games had an average of 40.1 per game, and the combined total score, 60.8 points per contest. So surpassing the total by about 20 points per game on average over the last 4. Dallas, anytime they have a total of 42 or greater, they've gone 5-1 to the over in their last 6 in that situation, and 7-2 to the over in their last 9 anytime they've had a total of 42 or greater. Here's an angle for you, folks. Dallas right now for the season, they're plus 7.4 in the point per game differential. San Francisco a tad better at plus 10.6 point per game differential. Anytime you have an NFL team like Dallas coming off back-to-back unders, the Dallas Cowboys have played under the total in their last 3, I should say 2 or more unders. And both teams have a point per game differential of 7 or greater. Those games have played 47-14 to the over since 1983. That's 77%, folks. I'm going with this game over the total of 46. That's Dallas San Fran over 46. And Big Al McMorty, he likes Buffalo minus the 5 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Both games take place on Sunday. Before we sign off, Al, tell the folks a little bit about your website, how you've been doing of late, what you got coming up, anything you care to share with the audience.
Sure. Yeah, yesterday we did go 7-1 in basketball and hockey, and I'm in the midst of my 11th straight winning year in the NFL. Had another nice year in the NFL. Last week I cashed my NFL playoff total of the year. Well, actually, I got it wrong. My NFL wild card round total of the year on the over in the Chargers-Jaguars game. This week, it's very possible I might have my one and only 5-star NFL game of the year. Haven't made a final decision yet, but my 5-stars, Ross, are pretty rare. I only have about 10 or 12 a year across all the sports. I've won, I think, 8 or 9 in a row going back to last April. So I hit my 5-star college game of the year on Ohio State against Georgia. So I think that was my 8th 5-star winner in a row. I'm not sure. But anyway, they've been red hot over the last 9 or 10 months. So if I do have my 5-star NFL game of the year, folks should check it out at bigal.com.
And Big Al, you have like 20 other or 19 other handicappers?
Yeah, there's 20 handicappers at bigal.com. As you mentioned, we have pickadvisor.com too. I think about another 18 or 20 handicappers are at that site. So both sites have just, great information, and folks can go there. If you go to the yesterday's results page, you can read the analysis from each of the handicappers, so you can see, how Ross breaks down the game or how I break down a game, and you can find a handicapper that fits your style.
Yeah, sometimes it's not always about winning all the time, but when you lose, sometimes you could look at a handicapper's breakdown of a game and say, you know what, Al lost that game, but I could darn sure see why he liked it. There's other times we're way off, folks. That happens. But let me ask you something. When it comes to games you win by a lot or lose by a lot, has anybody ever approached you after winning a game 45-0 when you're -3 and said, Al, that was so impressive. We had to chase you down. When you cash your ticket, we're going to give you an extra $200. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't happen, but yeah, it's and I look at it a completely different way than I think most customers look at it. I'd rather lose a game 45-3 than I had. For example, one of my losses last week was the over 45.5 in the Dallas Tampa Bay game. And of course, they missed 4 extra points and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, so you lose a game like that by half point. That's the game that drives you crazy as a handicapper is, you think of every single play where you could have won the play, but I'd rather lose a game by 45 points than lose a game like I did on that Dallas Tampa Bay where I lose by half point.
Absolutely. I mean, no kicker in NFL history has ever missed 4 extra points in a single game. Brady throws that interception on the 7-yard line of Dallas or in the first half. I mean,
it was just maddening. It was maddening. Then the throw, I think it was to Mike Evans toward the end of the game where it's off his fingertips as he could have connected on like a 45-yard touchdown pass with a minute to go. But it's just maddening game.
If the game's any closer, you might see him lay out for that one.
I was thinking that.
Understandably so, but yeah, that's a bad break because 5 of the 6 games on NFL wild card super weekend or whatever they call that, super wild card weekend, 5 of the 6 games went over the total, and the only one that went under was that Dallas game, and by all rights, that game should have gone over the total if not for the fluky missed extra points by the Dallas field goal kicker, who's since been let go. By the way, you can find me at rbwins.com. Also find me at pickadvisor.com. It's Al's affiliate site. NFL winning year during the regular season, 2-2 in the playoffs so far. I'll pick it up this week. And my NFL 10-star top plays, I normally just give out one of those a week. There was one week I gave out 2 because I had my Thursday night game of the year 14-7 this year with those plays, and dating back to 2021, 24-12 with my last 36, which is good for around 67% or so. So college basketball, 37-27 since the 17th of November, good for 58% on an all sports run right now of 33-21 since December 27th, which is good for 61%. Again, you can find me at rbwins.com or pickadvisor.com, and Big Al, BigAl.com. Any final words, Al?
I'm just smiling because you say you're on what was it, 37-27 all sports run or something since December 27.
33-21.
I mean, I've had days this year where I've had 21 plays in one day. So
Yeah.
I just,
No,
you know, in a month, I think I would have probably 200 plays. I'm just,
but the bottom line is I mean, again, folks.
Oh, there's no one right way or wrong way of doing it. I'm just
because Sean
smiling.
Higgs does the same thing. He's a volume handicapper, but he hits at a good percentage. And the only thing I would advise, and I'm sure Al has, anybody who's dealt with Al, he's told them the same thing along the way. You have to have real good money management plan in place before you start with an Al or a Sean Higgs or even myself.
Or anyway, you have to be consistent,
especially so with a volume handicapper. And the reason why, I mean, Al has 11 straight winning NFL seasons in a row. Okay. But along the way, he's had some bad streaks. Okay. God forbid you jump in at the beginning of one of those bad streaks and he gives you 7 or 8 games in a week and you lose a ton of money. Now you either have to bet scared, where it's going to take you 3 times as long to catch up, or you're going to be out of money and not be able to relish all the good streaks that Al goes on.
It's really the same thing whether you're high volume or low volume. It works the same way, because a guy who goes 2-0 and bets $100 on those 2 games, and the next week steps it up to $400 and loses, now he's 2-1 and he's down money. I mean, it just, you have to, before you start gambling, you have to pick a figure, and that's your figure. Like that's how much you're putting on your game. And if it's July, you're putting the same amount in September. And that doesn't mean you can't vary your bets. But so if a handicapper rates his plays 5 stars and 3 stars and whatever, you can put 500 on a 5-star and 300 on a 3-star. But you better be putting 500 on the 5-star in July, September, January. You can't be changing it around depending on how much you're winning and losing.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, Al, because the discussions I've had with clients over the years has been, look, establish yourself a gambling bankroll. And when I say a gambling bankroll, in the very worst case scenario, if you lose every game for the next month and you're out and you lose that gambling bankroll, is it going to change the quality of your life?
Exactly.
If the answer is no, then you're probably got a good grasp on what you should do.
And that's the right to, you're 100% right. It's how much money can you light a match to and not care about.
Yeah. And I always recommend, I would never exceed 5% on one bet of my total bankroll. And when I say that, beginning bankroll, you may want to assess where you are a year later. And then that 5% might be like if you're dealing with Al during the NFL season. You've dealt with me during this NFL season. Your bankroll is obviously going to be a little higher than it was to begin with. But I would stick to that 5% plan. The rule of thumb is 3 to 5% on a lot of the books I read at a young age. But
yeah, I mean, I'm more conservative. I think more. I'm very conservative. I'm more like 1 to 3%, 1 to 5% on every once in a while. But the and I'm well aware, just because I know there's going to be people watching, saying like, well, Al, what about the Kelly criterion system, the percentage of bankroll system, and you're supposed to adjust based on how much your bankroll is going up or down. I don't buy it. I mean, I think it's complete BS, and I don't want a winning streak or losing streak changing, the amount of then all of a sudden you're dependent upon your pattern of wins and losses and not whether or not you won or lost.
Right, exactly. And who could predict winning streaks and losing streaks? And if within that system, you're probably, when you're upping your size of your bet, based on your total bankroll, that surely probably comes at the end of a nice winning streak.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we both know, Al, we've gone through this a million times in our career. We'll go on a 33-10 streak and the sales will pile in. And lo and behold, you end up going 7-13 in your next 20. Your overall record's still very good. But those people who jumped in at the most inopportune time, it correlates exactly what you're saying and why that system wouldn't work.
And people, and I've got no problem if people do want to change over time, change their bet size, but I'm more like, do it every 1 or 2 years, like you don't have to change it every day where now you're betting $433 on the game and the next day you're betting $447. That to me, that's just insane.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Keep it simple. It's really simple. If you come up with a basic formula, get a gambling bankroll, decide what that is, and then decide what the maximum percentage of that bankroll you want to play. Now, Al says 1 to 3%. I'm saying 3 to 5.
And that's probably because I can give it out more games.
That's my point. That's my point. I'm not a volume guy. I give out my fair share of games, but guys like Al and Sean give out a lot of plays. And here's the thing, folks. You know what the advantage of is dealing with a successful guy who gives out a lot of games? If he hits 54 or 55%, if you do the math, when you're talking a volume of games, how many games would you estimate you give out in a year, Al?
I'll tell you. Let me just go back. What's today's date?
Today's the 18th of January.
Let me go back. I'll give you the exact record. Hold on. There we go. Well, this will be 26 months. Let me find out what the record is. 1967 and 1584, so that's 3,500 plays and change, plus 109 net games after the juice. So over 26 months, so that's averaging roughly. You can do the math. So
yeah, well, what's the win percentage?
55.4.
There you go, 55.4. Yeah, folks, even use a simple number of $100 a game, or even 50. Do the math.
Actually, that's 20. That's 20. Yeah, that's 27 months.
27 months. So over a 27-month period of time, if you even bet $100 a game, on average, you're going to make quite a bit of money with a volume handicapper that hits at that percentage. Now, a lot of you out there will say, I could hit 55 on my own. Baloney. Okay. The bottom line is you could hit 55 maybe on a month. You're talking about a guy who's given out 3,500 picks and hit 55%, folks. Same thing with Sean Higgs. He gave out 160-something NFL picks this year, and he went 61%. That's phenomenal. I mean, even he'll tell you that's very hard to attain when you're a volume handicapper of that sort. But basically, if you stick to strict money management and you get a guy like Al that hits 55 to 56% conservatively, you're going to make a lot of money. And that same goes with me, even though I'm not a big volume handicapper. You might want to, that's why I probably tell people to do 3 to 5%. And you're still going to make money over the long haul, folks. We all want to hit 60%. We've all attained that at some spot in our career in a particular sport. But to say you go 60% or above in a sport every year, Al, you've had 11 winning NFL seasons in a row. How many of those were 60% or above? In your
I know I hit 76% back in 2011. That was probably the high. Most years are between 53 and 57.
There you go.
Most years. Yeah. I mean, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Al, good information, buddy. Appreciate it. I'd like to wish you and your family all the very best. You have a great week. Hope you knock them dead in the NFL playoffs, as long as you're not going against me.
Well, you have to tell me who you have after we sign off here. I'm curious.
Yeah. All right. And I'll do that. But until the next time, for Big Al, he'll be back next Wednesday. I will be back tomorrow with Mr. Doug Upstone, and we'll be discussing some college basketball. Until then, folks, for Big Al and Ross Benjamin, would like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks.